Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WOR. We are here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the Jeddah Corniche circuit for Tier 1 crossplay. I am pleased to be I am pleased that James is joining me yet again for this one. It's been a regular occurrence, and I'm thrilled to have him alongside me in the comms box again. James, it's Jeddah. It's usually incredible as it comes to league racing online.
It is indeed. Good evening, everyone, by the way. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and hopefully the look of Irish is with our drivers out on track as well. Yeah, it is a fantastic track, the Saudi Arabian circuit. I always like to come here. It is one of the tracks, I think, that the drivers like to come here as well, and that is the main thing. It promotes a lot of overtaking, a lot of racing. With 3D rest zones as well, there is that chance, of course, we're going to see potentially the closest race finish in WOR history.
Looking back, if we can cast our minds back, we've had Opmia and some of the likes battling here. We've had on the Xbox side, we've had PSR Nick and Otis Lawrence. How could I forget that name? Otis Lawrence, one of the most decorated Xbox drivers to come around, having an absolute awesome battle here. And I think, if I remember rightly, PSR Nick came on top. And there is a certain PSR Nick in this lobby tonight, which is going to be great to see. Let us have a look at the standings, because somehow Smokey still leads the way in the championship from Rusty in second place. There's only 2 points in it, though. Sider and Wilson even closer. They're both on 83 points for them. Sav, though, struggling a little bit on 60. And Shazoo Rowan, who's not here tonight, is there in sixth place with 53, with the man I mentioned, PSR Nick, on 43 in seventh. He's got a real good chance of grabbing himself a couple of places tonight.
He does indeed. Shazoo Rowan as well has recently joined Talent Factory, which is probably why he's not here. He is a Challengers driver as well, or a forthcoming Challengers driver, of course, on the PS side. So that's why he's probably not here tonight. And yet, I think with 2 points, obviously backing up the front two going into tonight, Saudi Arabia should provide to be a really, really good racing circuit, and hopefully we get to see. You mentioned there Nick. Nick was very quick in Legacy Division. He pulled off a very, very good overtake, I've got to say. Further down the field, I think it was in towards turn number 4 and Schloss Gold in Legacy Division. So he's got the form alongside Smokey coming in tonight. If they can replicate that from Tuesday, they could be ones to watch out for.
Now, we will very much get on track in a minute. It's 15 minutes until qualifying is over and done with. No one has set a lap time at all at the moment, so there's no meaningful stuff to talk about. But the way things are going, James, obviously, with the way, Rusty's not been here, and all of a sudden I've lost James, which might be a bit problematic. So let's go back to the standing stream. James, are you still with us? Well, we'll wait for James to come back, and actually, I'll tell you what, let's head over. Are we back, James? Are you back with us?
I hope so. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that is good. That is good. We'll head over to the track, and obviously, the way Rusty's not been with us for a couple of weeks, he's had, I think, 3 weeks out. Smokey hasn't had but he hasn't used that advantage to him as best as he can.
He hasn't, and I think with obviously Saudi Arabia being a track out here, of course, we've got the first laps now happening. Smokey, they've got to really try and grasp every single opportunity. Every single driver, I think, has got to try and grasp every single opportunity out on track. And if they do, there's going to be a high risk of reward, I think, around here, especially like a track like Saudi Arabia, which is so close to the walls, of course, so close to the Red Sea. Rick currently out on top in the session with a 128.2. Jensen, I'm currently on board with a lap of 101.3. But yeah, everyone has to take literally risks to get the reward around here at Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's 27 corners here at Saudi. I think it's the largest amount of corners in a track. We've got a sprint race here tonight as well. There is so much going on that it will be absolutely incredible to see everything that goes in. There goes Sarah with a 128.8. Jensen with a 128.9. But so Shazoo Rick, a 128.2. Currently, everything will Well, I say currently the man to beat, Choco's only got a 128.4. Shazoo Frankie saying in the chat, is this WR Tier 1 or Shazoo versus PSR? To be perfectly honest, saying that, PSR Nick has just gone out and beaten Shazoo Nick by 0.6 of a second.
That is honestly an obliteration of a lap, if I'm going to be honest. Nick is just absolutely unbelievable. As I said, if he had the form from Legacy Division, he would be one to watch out for. And look what has happened. I know Sav has just gone second there as well, 127.7, but Nick out on top, Sav there in second, Kimber in third, and now Smokey puts it into third. I think it could be PSR against Shazoo potentially here tonight, which is going to be fantastic. And if that is the case, obviously we're going to see some really good action out on track. And I believe I'm lagging out again, so apologies if you can hear me still. Nick, Sav, Smokey, top three, Wilson, and fourth, Kimber.
I think possibly we've lost James. So all of a sudden, we're saying it's PSR versus Shazoo. Right now, it's PSR versus PSR out of all this. Shazoo Tom is on a lap time. Let's see what he can do. Rusty is definitely one to watch out for, being one of the championship protagonists through all this. We'll continue to see how Shazoo Tom will go as he heads through this snaky section of, into now, I think, turn 22, 23 and 24, which can be so difficult. Let's see what the Williams driver can do as he heads through here. We've had many of an incident here, and we might see it tonight with drivers wanting to get the DRS activation zone to their advantage as he comes down to the start-finish straight, and hopefully we'll have James back very, very, very soon. Which we haven't. So there is problems, unfortunately, on the internet front, but Shazoo Tom splitting the PSR guys at the front. Shazoo Louis Valentine going into P6 as well, splitting away PSR Kimber and Scyther there with Shazoo Ricks currently in P9 out of all this. VSR Lucas unable to set a meaningful lap time. Well, I say meaningful lap time. Well, he invalidated his lap. That's the problem on his side. Unfortunately for Lucas, and we'll have to wait and see how all the others will pan out. Ali Ferrari there out on a lap time as well, but he's invalidated. Let's see how it will all pan out though. And a couple of out laps now. Sarah and McCabe Sam trying to go for another lap time. And let's see if Lucas will continue on this or whether he will put it into the pit lane as he comes through this tricky section of 22, 23 and 24, around 25 into 26 he comes now. Here's VSR Lucas into 27. The McLaren driver will hold and want to hope he gets a nice inside line there through there, but he's spun it, and that is a front wing lost for him. Let's see where Rusty is on track. He's a little bit further out, so let's maybe go on board with the Ferrari of Visera. Let's see what he can do as he now enters this final part of the lap. And, well, he's got to make a wide exit through here, or wide entry into turn 27, and then push through on the exit and make sure he's got enough time to make it into a really quick getaway down the start-finish straight. And here's me hoping that James is going to be here very, very shortly. James, are you around? He is not. So hopefully James will be with us soon. Sarah then coming through this part of the section. It's sector 1 now for the Ferrari driver heading through. It's nice and tight through the apexes and onto the curb, using as much of the curb as possible as he now heads down into the long left-hander of turn 13. Got to be tight to the apex, but use as much as the exit as possible, and then tight to 14 into 15 as well. Got to be pretty tight, but you don't want to compromise too much into the tight 16, well, tight 16, 17 and 18 here. Now into 19, which is just a little kink to the right-hand side before 20 and 21, which is also just a little kink, if anything at all. Now tight into 22. Don't want to take too much exit there, and a big mistake from the Ferrari, and he's pulled out of his lap time, and that is not ideal for for V0. He will continue on, I think, to try and maybe build up a little bit of ERS usage, but that's not ideal for the Ferrari driver. The next driver to really go on board with, possibly, is NRX Rusty, the championship protagonist. He's purple in Sector 2, in Sector 1, sorry, as he heads around turn 13. Again, let's see it from his point of view, and we'll ask James if he's back again.
I should be back. Can you hear me now?
I can indeed, James. I can indeed.
Oh my god, it has been a nightmare. Honestly, Discord just keeps dropping out on my end, so apologies about that. Nick out on top, Savin second, Tom there in third. Cyril there, obviously you mentioned him making that mistake through 22 and 23. It is such a game-changing lap and such a real difficult part of the lap as well. If you get that right, you will literally fly on this lap. Cyril, unfortunately, got caught out by that inside curve through 23. It is so easy to do. It's so easy to invalidate through there as well. And he is obviously backed off his lap. He's just preparing up, I think, for another run. Jensen down in 13th position at this stage. Marcos as well, just starting up on the lap. As Rusty now goes quickest with a 1:27.4. Mad lap from him, two tenths quicker than Nick. However, though, I'm on board with Nick and he's responding in that middle sector with that red fuel flashing light coming into the left-hander of turn number 27. We'll see what the PSR man can do. He was 2 tenths up in the middle sector. He's got a Williams to contend with on the exit. I think that might have been Jensen on the exit of the corner. Nick, though, on the run to the line. The PSR man goes quickest with a 1:27.323. A brilliant lap from him. Rusty there in second, Sav there in third, and Nick out on top by a tenth and a half.
It would look like such a solid lap from Rusty. I didn't think Nick would be able to beat it this early into the session, but he has. But Tom has invalidated on his lap time. Let's go on board with someone else who could be on a flying lap. PSL Wilson is generally one to throw something in on this. Fabi puts himself P6, another one, which has got very, very good race pace as Fabi. Very impressed with him with his qualifying pace, and just a little bit frustrating, I think, for him in the race pace side of things. But let's see what Wilson can do then around this long, not as long as turn 13, but this long banking left-hander down the start-finish straight for the Red Bull driver, cutting as close as he can, but it's only P3 for him, and his teammate is only P4. So Rusty and Nick are the guys to beat right now.
They are indeed the guys to beat right now. I've just had another lag spike, so apologies if anybody heard me muffled in the background. It is uncontrollable, I think, at this stage, so we'll try and bear with if I can. Nick, though, out of top, Rusty in second, Wilson there in third. 27.6, Wilson did put in a very good lap there. Sav there in fourth with a 27.7. PSR 1-2, well, PSR first, third, and fourth at this stage. Skyther there in sixth, setting a good lap. Down there in sixth, through the first sector, he's 5 tenths down. So he's just came off a lap. Louis Valentin is invalidated as well. I think Fabi potentially could be on a run. I think he might have backed off, though, in eighth. He is currently second best at the PS boys behind Tom there, who's currently in fifth. Fabi and Louis Valentin are 8th and 9th at this stage, and Fabi, coming through the final couple of corners, is not on a lap, so he's obviously going to try and come back in the pit lane and then go for another run in that Mercedes. It is Nick, Rusty, Wilson, still the top three. Just trying to pick up on anybody that might be on a lap. I'm seeing a lot of invalidations, though.
Yeah, and this is, it's really weird, isn't it? The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix has obviously one of the closest battling circuits around with the walls and what have you, but you can still pick up an awful lot of invalidations here as well, and it's what makes it so tricky here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit is with everything that goes on. If you survive the walls, you've got to survive the track limits as well.
You definitely do, and it's such a tricky track. Even on the PS side, it is such a very much tricky track to try and get a grasp of. It's classed as an easy track, I think, on the game. It is nothing like easy. The walls come at you very, very quickly indeed, and that will turn out to be quite a few mistakes. Sam McCabe was on a lap of 32.1. He's invalidated, though, in the Alpha Male down there in 18th position. Nick, Rusty, Wilson still the top three. Sav there in fourth. Louis Valentin in ninth, I think, is just coming back in the pit lane as well. There's nobody out there on a run at this stage. But this track is going to be very, very tricky indeed for the drivers to try and take a grasp of. If they don't take a grasp of these opportunities, they're not going to get another chance. Of course, they've got the sprint and feature race to come. There is double risk for the reward. and therefore there are double amount of points available as well for both the sprint and the feature. So with that in mind, drivers are going to have that in their focus and have that mentality to try and set as good a lap time as possible out on track. Nick, Rusty, Wilson, top three, just less than 5 minutes to go in the session. Sam McCabe is just coming through the final corner. He's run out of field, so he'll be the last one to come into the pit lane, as I think we're going to get, I think that might be a Williams coming out the pit lane. It's Mr. Jensen.
Now, from your expert opinion, James, I mean, when it comes down to the sprint race here at Jeddah, do you think the sprint race is less important than the actual race?
I think so. I think everyone's focus is going to be on the feature race. The sprint race does bear obviously importance in terms of points and in terms of picking up points for the championship. But the sprint race around here, one mistake and it's going to cause a safety car. And with, I think, only 9 or 10 laps, I think that the sprint races actually is, it's going to be very difficult for you to come back for that because you're going to lose racing laps as you go along. If the safety car obviously comes out lap 1, you're going to waste away basically 2 laps worth of racing and then get going again. So potentially the sprint race, this track has all the opportunities to make it more like a stop-start sort of sprint race rather than anything else.
Well, we are sure to well, I'm certain we're going to be in for an absolute incredible race here at Jeddah. We will wait and see how it all pans out. I'm going to stay on board with Jensen and see how he handles it. And James, I will hand over to you. Obviously, you're more of a PlayStation guy, and Jensen is more of a PlayStation guy, if you hadn't have guessed. But let's see how he handles this pressure, because he's currently down in 16th place.
He is currently down in 16th place. Timing tower off on my side, just to see the full end of the track, with Jensen on the run down in towards turn number 1. He should get this a very good lap. He has had winning form around here in the past in other leagues on the PS side. And he's got a new wheel, so will that boost his confidence potentially? Who knows? Coming to the left-hand turn 3, in towards the first real tricky section on the track, through 4, through the right-hand turn number 5. These corners come at you like Muhammad Ali picking punches against Joe Frazier back in the day. Through turn number 8, through the right-hand turn number 9, then through the left-hand turn number 10, and already reaching where Mick Schumacher crashed, of course, in 2021 in qualifying. Jensen through the first sector, 2.5 tenths up, 32.3, exactly where you want to be, I think, in terms of the first sectors. Drivers, though, do prepare up, I think, for a lot of straight line speed running down the straight here, and that is what's going to be key, I think, for Jensen, especially coming through this chicane. Through 16, through the left-hand 17, the wall comes at you right on the exit of the corner, but Jensen not looking too bad at all in terms of this lap, opens the DRS, which is an incorrect DRS zone, by the way, I believe, on this track still. They have changed it, of course, in real life. It's a 1 minute point 7 in the middle sector. He's 5.5 tenths up, and he has a huge snap coming into the wall, coming out of turn 23. I did warn drivers about that possibility in terms of turn 23. Jensen caught out by that completely. Too much riding on the curb.
Yeah, that's so frustrating for Jensen. But let's have a look at PSR Nick as he comes down the start-finish straight. I don't think it's an improvement for him. I think actually he might be starting a lap time. Yep. That could be how off the bat I am. The Fabi and Jensen then deciding to retire. Let's see if the championship protagonist with his championship rival at this present moment in time, PSR Smokey down in 7th, Rusty as he comes through here, and James has seen something relatively entertaining on his side. We'll go back to him very, very shortly as here comes Rusty through turns 26. He's keeping it as tight as he can. He's up on his lap time from the looks of things into turn 27 as well. He's keeping it nice and tight as he now heads down the start-finish straight. This is where Verstappen lost it in 2021, clipping the back end of his tyre and costing him pole position. And across the line, Rusty has got it.
Brilliant, and that's what I was looking at in terms of Rusty's lap. Sav there going 3rd as well, but really at the nitty-gritty, Nick is invalidated through the middle sector, so unfortunately Nick is not going to be improving. Wilson toward the line as well, a 1 minute point 3 to the line, 27.5, 800s up in terms of his lap time. Skyver on the run through the final couple of corners. He's had form in the past here in console tier 1, on the run to the line, goes 7th, and actually goes 5th, in fact. The timing screens are wrong there. Smokey going 8th and staying 8th in terms of that lap. Rick, I believe, is on lap, but he's invalidated. Sam McCabe is on a run of 1 minute point 6 in the middle sector. It's not too bad at all from the Alfa Romeo. Lucas back in the pit lane. He is done. So it's only Sam McCabe to the line. I think he's going to go around Kimber sort of area. In fact, he goes above. He goes 9th ahead of Fabi. Not a bad lap at all. It's Rusty out on top. It's Nick in 2nd. It's 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2.5 tenths up in terms of his lap time. 2 Sav in third, and Rusty in the end at that lap, coming absolutely alive, the 127.2, 700s clear of Nick, and Nick has got form from that Legacy division on Tuesday coming into tonight, which is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, very interesting to see from a Nick point of view as well, especially considering don't get me wrong, he's quick, but he invalidated under pressure, and I wonder if that's going to cost him big time. McCabe Sam, a fan favourite, I should say, in WOR Tier 1 on the Xbox side of things. I'm sure he's well loved elsewhere as well. But it's Rusty on pole, the championship protagonist, 2 points behind Smokey in the championship, and he's doing a good job about it at the moment. PSR Nick in second alongside him on the front row of the grid. On the second row of the grid, we see the Red Bull and PSR lockout of Sav and Wilson. Sider in fifth. Sixth is Markaduz with a great qualifying for him. Shazoo Tom in seventh alongside him. In eighth place is Smokey. The fifth row of the grid sees McCabe Sam and Fabi in ninth and 10th respectively then. Ali Ferrari in 11th. Shazoo Louis Valentine in 12th. 13th is Kimbo Choco in 14th. 15th to Rick, 2D in 16th, 17th to Sarah Jensen in 18th, and we didn't get proper lap times from VSR Lucas or PSR Fern, which is not ideal, is it, James, at all? When you come down, when all things are said and done, you do not want to invalidate at this track.
Definitely not, and especially with the sprint race, it just sets you back quite a lot in terms of the field. Jensen, take for example, down in 16th. He has got a mountain to climb. He's very good around this track, but he's got a big mountain to climb in terms of the racing. Tudi there, I believe, making his debut as well, and the remaining did well. He was 15th in the end. He might be one to watch out for, certainly from further down the field. But it is going to be a time now for the drivers out on track, and they have got to deliver on the promises from short qualifying into the sprint. This sprint race could get quite hectic, though.
It definitely could be, and let's head over to the track because we've only got 13 seconds remaining when it is all said and done. And you know what, James, a quick question to you: who's going to win this sprint race?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. You are putting me on the spot. I'm going to go Nick for the win. Nick for the win, I think.
Nick for the win from second on the grid. We've got the lights, though, on 3, 4, 5 red lights here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Is Rusty going to be able to get away quickly? Let's see how it is. There's an Alpine going to the centre very early doors. I don't think Nick's got a good enough start, but all of a sudden he's still alongside the Haas of Rusty. Rusty is still battling away with Sav in the background. I think may have made a mistake and cost his teammate a position as they come through all this as well. But Wilson automatically battling straight away and getting himself back into that position. And other than the background in the last 5 places, no positional changes in this sprint race.
Definitely not. The Williams, by the way, that you saw in the background getting out of the way was Jensen. He picked up a drive-through penalty off the race start. So unfortunate for the man. Down in 20th position now. All Ferrari's getting caught up by Kimber and Louis Valentine going around the outside. I think actually Ferrari's got a bit of damage potentially on the right side end plate in the AlphaTauri. There's a Ferrari of Fern nearly going side by side with Lucas there as well. But Ferrari has got damage, right side end plate damage on the car. Must have picked that up coming out of turn 11 and 12. So unfortunate for him, he's down at the back of the field now with Rusty leading the way, Nick in second, Sav there in third, Wilson, Sky, the Marcos, fourth, fifth and sixth, Smokey there on the back of Tom, looking very eye-catching, I've got to say, the PSL man, on the back of the Shazoo man, who makes a slight mistake under 23, and he might try and capitalise on this Mercedes, on the back of the Williams, running down the straight now, in towards turn 27 at the final corner, he's going to risk it for a chocolate biscuit to the inside line, tries to get the job done, but in the end, Tom holds firm until Tom holds seventh, Smokey there in eighth, a good positional move there from Smokey to try and get that job done. In the end, not close enough. His teammate, though, Fabi, on the back of McCabe Sam in the background, and Kimber and Louis Valentine are going side by side as well in towards turn number 1. Rusty, Nick, Sav in towards the top 3 as Kimber flies down the inside of Louis Valentine, leaves him short of room on the exit of turn number 1 and through turn number 2. And Louis Valentine, the Frenchman, tries to come back at him. They're side by side in towards turn number 4. I better not watch it, this, but Kimber goes way too deep into the corner. That's one way to get a move done. He's into 11th.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Louis Valentine is under pressure from Shazoo Rick as well. There's 2 Shazoo drivers battling away, but Louis Valentine's allowing it to go through in the end. Here comes 2D against Choco as they come into turn 13. This surely can't end up being side by side, but Chudi's going to try it. He's going to somehow try a switchback through turn 13 as well. That's something very unusual, but all the battling is happening a little bit further down. Let's go back on board with Shazoo Tom and PSR Smokey because these guys got very close at the end of the last lap on lap 1, but here they are again on lap 2, and PSR Smokey, looks like he's very, very racy and could try and capitalise on any mistake Shizou Tom makes.
He takes a slower speed coming out of turn 22 and 23. He was at least 5 mile an hour inferior to Tom coming out of the corner, and Tom there in 7th is going to be under pressure. He locks up in towards turn 27 as well, so Tom is going to be very wary of Smokey in behind. Doesn't want to hold up a potential championship contender as well. That's probably the worst thing you want to do around here in Saudi Arabia. But with a big old DRS train all the way down to 18, everyone is fighting basically for the same amount of track at this stage. Rusty leads the way, Nick in 2nd, Sav there in 3rd. Ferrari, by the way, did come in the pit lane. I think Jensen's had another problem potentially with his wheel. He's down there at the back of the field, down in 19th after that drive-through penalty. Certainly made a mistake in that middle sector somewhere. But Rusty out on top, Nick in 2nd, and currently Rusty's trying to pull away from Nick. He's trying to get outside of the 8/10 range. 8/10 range around here, crucial, because that is slipstream range around here, as Jensen is into the pit lane. Wouldn't be surprised if he retires out into the pit lane, and he does.
Such a shame for Jensen. He will be starting last in the feature race after this one. We're lap 3 of 9, and there is a big moment. James, what's happened?
Tootie down the inside of Choco eventually got the move done, and no, they're not. They're in the wall, and Choco's out of the race. That note was not on whatsoever. VSE out on track. Tootie had 90% of that job done. He had the move done, but he still realised, unfortunately, that Choco was still on the inside of him, and Choco tried to go back around the outside, I think inevitably in towards 16 and 17. Didn't work. Tootie, one slight bit of contact on the right side of Choco's car. Both of them in the wall. I think Tootie's got away with damage. Choco certainly hasn't. He's out the race. BSE deployed out on track. So unfortunate, because that could have been avoided.
And such a shame for that as well. Louis Valentine lost DRS capability of PSR Kimber through all this as well. And this is the problem with this the virtual safety car is these guys could lose ERS to the guys behind. Tootie deciding not to pit even if he has damage. The racing is back underway here, and it looks like Lucas has an easy overtake on the AlphaTauri as they come into turn 1. Has anything else? Louis Valentine didn't lose too much time, but he's outside the DRS range of Kimber ahead, and that could be problematic when it all said and done at the end of this this sprint race, I should say. But Tootie, it looks like he's taking a lot tighter lines than VSR Lucas as he come through some of these apexes in the first sector.
Yeah, he looks like he's more hooked up in terms of a more downfall setup, as opposed to drivers obviously going for the straight line speed setup. Straight line speed setup is good. That is, I think, what Rusty is running potentially out in front, because he's now trying to pull away in terms of his ERS. He's got that ERS on 9/10 away from Nick. Nick is there in 2nd position, just not wasting away any battery. Tootie has gone a little bit too aggressive through one of the corners. I think it was out of turn 17, so he's picked up a 3-second penalty down at the back of the field, the Romanian for the VSR team. He's behind his teammate, actually, in Lucas, in the same team, of course, in VSR. And he's got PSR Phone running behind him and maybe looking for a move, actually, in towards turn number 27. Smokey and Tom are getting quite close to each other up ahead, but they're not going to get the job done in towards turn number 1. But Fern blitzes around the outside of Tootie. Tootie will stick his nose in on the inside. The Romanian has to give way. Fern just about completes that move all the way to the right-hand side of the wall. My word, that was close, but Fern through and he's into 16. Brilliant stuff.
And then all of a sudden, PSR Nick is all over the back of NRX Rusty. Into turn 1 as well. So we've seen a brilliant overtake from PSR Fern to PSR Nick trying to get a move done on Rusty as well. So as things stand, I think Rusty would take the lead in the championship before the feature race at the end of this race if things stay as they are. But there is still plenty of racing left to go here. 4.5 laps really when it is all said and done here in Saudi for the sprint race. And, James, not much has changed in the top 10.
Not much has changed in the top 10, and that is, I think, because of the DRS train that is inevitably developed further down the field. Kimber and Fabi, I think, could be the big split up, along with Sam McCabe down in 9th position. They are doing a fantastic job, but they're just lacking in terms of pace. Smokey on the back of Tom, that inevitably is going to be a job done sooner rather than later, I'd imagine. And speaking of jobs done, Markedo's on the back of Skyver. all of a sudden beginning to look quite close. The TF10 man, who has honestly had a revolution on the F1 22 game. He was previously starting off in PSGL F3, then up to PSGL F1 one season. This now really his acclaim to fame. He's on the back of Scarver, who's arguably one of the best Xbox drivers, I think, out there. And Markados bangs in the new fastest lap. Tom just bangs in 2 tenths quicker than him in behind. And now they're beginning to put Scarver under a bit of pressure. And I'm liking this for Markados. This looks like the Markados of old, where he's been aggressive and he wants to get the move done.
Yeah, he is definitely looking a bit racy, but he's got to be careful of Shazoo Tom behind, because Tom has decided to turn on a little bit as well. And that's the Tom that we know here in WOR, and a lot of people know of Shazoo Tom as well. Be a little bit more racy. Usually we see Tom a little bit higher up. He's managed to get through the sprint race a little bit unscathed, so it'll be interesting to see how he continues on through this as well. But at the moment, all looking good for the Shazoo driver. And as he looks to find a way through Markados, but Markados is also doing the same to Scyther ahead. Scyther and Wilson, when you look at it, looking like they're going to drop out of the ranges of the drivers ahead.
They will, and Markados has got nearly double the amount of ERS to Scyther as well. So this is going to be problematic, I think. Big problems potentially for the Aston Martin ahead. He's much quicker, Markados, coming through turns 22 and 23 and applies the pressure on again. However, I think his deficiency is in the straight line speed. He cannot have that straight line speed compared to Scyther. Yes, he's using up his DRS and now he's closed up into the corner. But the work is done, basically, from coming out the corner and trying to put your rival under pressure. Markados is doing that, but it just doesn't look quick enough down the straight to try and fight with Scyther at this stage. I mean, we're 3 laps before the end of the race, so Markados has to go... Basically, he clouts the wall actually on the exit of the braking zone down in towards turn 1. Clouts the wall on the right hand side and settles the car, and that's now put him on the back foot.
Let's see how this continues to pan out as well. Lap 7 of 9 here, as I think Nick has made a mistake actually. Where is Nick in all this? Because he's dropped down behind the 2 Red Bulls, and that is uncharacteristic. What is happening to the McLaren driver?
I think he's hit the wall. I think it's right side end plate damage on the car. If I'm looking at my camera angle, it's right side end plate damage on the car. That right side winglet is completely missing from Nick's perspective. So I can assume he's probably had a mistake coming out of turn number 7 and 8 through the right-hander. It was actually Tom was trying to go all the way around the outside. To be fair, Nick did not want to give any sort of amount of room. They're still fighting with this battle. But Tom, that was brilliant from him. In the end, now Rusty ahead. Nick is ruining his look at this stage in the race. Right side end plate damage. I think he must have got caught in the curb and had a snap coming out in towards the right-hand with turn number 9 just before the end of the first sector. So Nick, unfortunately, down in 8th position, right side end plate damage on the car. Nothing can do about it as Smokey now tries to go around the outside of Tom in towards turn 27, just ahead on camera shot. It's Smokey now to the outside line. Tom will try and keep the nose in as possible, as close to the wall as possible, and Smokey is still there on the exit of the corner. Markados is trying to chase down Scyther and all of this as well ahead, but Smokey on the back of Tom. Wing mirrors apart as they run down in towards turn 1. Is Smokey going to get the job done? Blitzes around the outside of Tom. He's late on the brakes. Is he going to complete the move? PSR man against the Shazoo man. This is still side by side coming out of turn number 3. Still side by side in towards turn number 4. And in the end, inside line has it. And Tom just about has it. But Smokey is still there. Still battling. They do not want to give up any inch of track. Brilliant battle between these guys. My favourite battle of commentary on WOR. Absolutely sensational.
This is incredible. Shazoo versus PSR. People wondered whether that was the race that was happening tonight. It isn't. But it's the race we're getting, and what a drive from both drivers. Great respect throughout as well. This is incredible. PSR Smokey is going to have an opportunity though, because the DRS has been broken between TF10 Markados and Shazoo Tom, and this could give PSR Smokey the absolute opportunity as they go again side by side as they're coming down. PSR Smokey gets the move done, but is that tactical from Shazoo Tom?
Yes, it is, because I've seen him do this before, and he's going to come back at him in towards turn 27. But with the exit, puts him on the back foot, and Smokey, I think, has got this now in towards turn 27. Cape Sam, though, on the back of Nick is looking close. Kimber on the back of Fabi, I think, is especially looking close. He looks to move maybe to dunk it to the inside line in towards 27. Mercedes goes a bit deep there, Fabi. Kimber there on the inside just tries to hang it on in there. All of this, by the way, Sav is still on the back of Rusty, and Markados is going side by side with Skyler and actually passing him down the straight. Markados doing his into fourth. Tom there doing his into sixth. Hell for leather towards turn number one. It's literally burning hell's fire, I think, out on track here in Saudi Arabia. Is Fabi now on the back of the Cape Sam, tries to get the job done. Kimber's in all of this. And we've still got the final lap of the race to go, and Rusty has not got this race win yet. Sav has got 16% more VRS.
This is mental because Rusty had that DRS broken ahead. Maybe he's made a mistake trying to save ERS, but we go on board with the battling leaders, lap 9, as they come through turn 13. It's looking positive for Sav, but it's also looking positive for Rusty. It's all up in the air. Who's going to win this Grand Prix? There's plenty of parts to overtake between now and then in this street track, which is really odd considering how close it is. This is only the sprint race, and we've got the feature race of 25 laps coming up straight after this one. PSR Sav trying his best to get in as they head into turn 22. It's not happening on this occasion as they exit turn 22 into 23 and 24. It's all nice and tidy for Rusty at the moment, but Sav is gaining. He's gaining through 25, 26 into 27. Is there going to be enough? Sav goes to the inside line of the Haas. It's side by side, but he's hit the wall. Is there contact between the two of them?
No.
And Wilson has front wing damage as well. What an end to this Grand Prix.
I'm speechless. What on earth has happened there? Sav, basically, what has happened there is a side-by-side, actually, Nick and Smokey are side-by-side in the background, coming across the line. In fact, it was Nick and McCabe Sam for 8th and 9th position. Fabi and Kimber were also side-by-side in the background. Madness here in WOR Console T1. Rusty takes the win. Sav, though, that is the weirdest snap of oversteer I think I've ever seen on this game. Absolutely uncontrollable. He basically, I can't really describe what happened. And a low speed corner, he's basically trying to take the throttle, I think, coming into the entry of the corner and apply that on the exit. And therefore he spun into the wall, and Wilson being caught up in a collision, and it's a bit like Baku once again, I think, in terms of the PSR guys coming together, the Red Bulls.
Wow, what a way to end this Grand Prix. And it's only the sprint race. There's so much more to come. Wilson gets driver of the race for this one. James, I'll ask you that very, very shortly, whether you agree with that at all. But Rusty, Sav, Wilson, Markados, Sider, Tom, Smokey and Nick pick up the points here. Nick still managing to somehow get points considering his front wing damage. Then it's McCabe Sand, Kimber, Fabi, Rick, Louis Valentine, Sierra, who managed to get himself up into P14, Fern, Lucas, Tudi, Ali Ferrari, with no finishes for Choco or Jensen. And that is the end of that. And wow, that is one hell of a way to end a sprint race. James, who was your driver of the race?
Driver of the race, it's difficult, to be honest. I'm going to go Markados. I'm honestly going to go Markados. He finished there, he qualified P6, finished there P4. German did a fantastic job. He looked very aggressive in terms of his racing as well. That is the all Markados I like to see. So I'm going to give it to a PS fan, which is totally biased whatsoever.
It was a great way to end this Grand Prix, and Markados obviously having a great race there. Definitely something to behold, really, when it comes down. And looking in the chat in the Discord, Rusty asking Sav if he squeezed him at all into turn 27. Apparently all is good, all is fine between the two of them, and it was just hard racing, and that's all you want to see. And it was just like you mentioned, the snap of oversteer that cost Sav massively. But I feel for Wilson. Wilson possibly in the back of his head thought, I've got Sav here, and then all of a sudden he's got no front wing or no front left end plate.
I don't think Wilson was going to get close to Sav, to be honest. I think Sav had really assured up that P2, Wilson that P3 as well. They stayed there at the end of the day. Rusty, I was on board with Sav actually coming in towards turn 27. And as I described it, he had a snap of oversteer going mid-corner, and that is the worst possible moment you can have, I think, as a driver, of coming out the final couple of corners, realising that you've got a chance to race victory, and then the car just snaps on you like that. And it's so unfortunate. I know Sav is going to come back from this. He's second. He's on the front row of the grid. Wilson there in third. All the PSR boys got a plan? Potentially the Red Bulls coming into this race to try and defeat the man ahead of them? Who knows? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely one to watch out for all that. But let's talk about PSR Nick. What unfortune has that man got? Because it's been time and time again this season. France, in the back of my mind, cost him big time. He's had poor luck elsewhere as well. But he's come off a Legacy Division, strong result. And then all of a sudden, WR Tier 1 crossplay, it's not gone his way.
Yeah, form hits people in different ways, I've got to be honest, in league racing. And with Nick, I think, had a snap, as I say, coming on the outside curb at turn break. If that underfloor of the car gets basically bottomed out on the curb, you are going to be spinning off on the right-hand side, which is exactly what Nick has done. Unfortunately, he got caught up through turn number 7 and hit the wall through there. And it was just unfortunate. He was driving a solid race up until that point. Rusty pretty much was on the back foot, I think, up until that point. So Nick certainly just needs to refocus. He certainly needs to put that focus into this feature race, and hopefully he's going to come back to the form that I saw him in Legacy Division, where him and Smokey for the PSR team absolutely took the field apart in Legacy Division in Austria on Tuesday. And if he recovers that form, he could be one to watch out for from, 8th position on the grid. He'll be one to watch out for in this race.
Well, time will tell. It's getting underway. James, tell us, and in the chat as well, tell us what you think. But James, who is your man to beat here tonight in the feature race of Jeddah Corniche Circuit at WOR?
Oh, I'm gonna put the mockers, I think, on Sav. Sav, I think, certainly in this race. I know he's gonna come back to his best. So Sav for me for the win. I'm going to go Rusty for second, and I'm going to go Smokey for third.
There we have it. We've got a top 3 prediction from James there. But let's get down to it. The Jeddah Corniche feature race is well underway now, and it looks like it's a good start again from Rusty. Sav struggled a little bit, and Wilson has struggled as well. Marcador's trying to get up the inside, but I think he's already under pressure from Sider as they come through turn 1, and I think he's going to hold on just for now. He's sticking to the back end of the Red Bull ahead, and it's looking all good for him. Let's have a look at the positional changes as Lucas has gone up 3 places, and Ali Ferrari struggling a little bit, and I think Sierra has been pushed into the wall in the background. Marcador's keeping to the back end of Wilson at the moment. Let's have a look at the tyre difference between them. McCabe Sam dropping behind Kimber, even though he's on the softer compounded tyres or the medium. In the background, Shizu Tom under incredible pressure from PSR Smokey. These two were having, hammer and tongs at the end of the sprint race, and now on a hammer and tong at the start of this feature race.
And I'm going to love this battle because I want to see this out on track. We were robbed, really, of the battle in the sprint race. They were fighting. And now look at Nick as well. Nick involved in this as well. Smokey there in 7. Lucas, by the way, up 3 positions. He's starting on that sort of soft compound tyre. Very, very rogue strategy, I've got to say, from the VSR man. That might be pulled off, though, if he goes for a set of hards a little bit later on. Skyler's on the back of Marcador's. Marcador's actually hung around the outside of turn number 4 to complete that move. And Smokey and Tom, once again, on the back of each other. I think everyone's just going to run line of stone. Lucas and Fabi are running side by side in the background. Lucas has completed that move in towards turn 27. And that was a lunge there for McCabe Sam. Gets the job done on Kimber. Kimber realised he was coming. Set a medium compounded tyres. Then we no bound for McCabe Sam. He's doing his in tonight. And the goat of Xbox now is going to set his sights on Nick, Smokey and Tom, which I think is a battle he's going to be absolutely reveling in and towards lap 2 as well in the background. 2D forces to the inside line there. Fern, I think, was caught up in that. Sorry, it was Lucas, that was caught up in that. And 42D, right turn inflict damage on the car. Just absolutely central on the base. Missed his braking point, and the remaining down in 18th.
That was huge from 2D. I saw that from, at the end of turn 27, I think. And really wasn't a positional chance there. And he just no brakes at all were able to stop him as he came hurtling into poor old Lucas, who was trying his best to make some moves on those soft compounded tyres. Rusty, Sav and Wilson are your top 3 at this moment in time. And, looking at the positional changes right now, again, the top 10, keeping it as things were. There's a yellow flag as Jensen retires from the session. Is that him out the race? It is. I wonder if that's a safety car.
Could well be, could well be. That's coming out of turn 17 and 18. So actually from the exit of turn 17. I think he might have got caught up in that maybe with Louis Valentin in that. The Frenchman there down in 14th. Smokey on the back of Tom. The top 12 actually have stayed in the same position off this race start, which is absolutely mad. As actually, speaking of which, McCabe Sam gets the job done. Oh, and a bit of desync actually between them both. VSC deployed out on track, and McCabe, Sam, and Nick, for me at least, are desyncing inside of each other slightly. McCabe, Sam now ahead, did complete the move, and now he's being told to give the move back. And I don't know what's going on in this VSC. I think all hell has just broken loose out on track.
This is the worst possible thing to happen for maybe Nick or Sam, because the VSC has really caught them out. And it's caused a little bit of a cluster as they come down the start-finish straight there. But it's thankfully managed to sort itself out. This is a chance, though, for Rusty, Sav and Wilson to use this VSC to their advantage. If they get it, if it all... And this is the thing about VSCs. If they push away at the right time, they could gain some time. But if they don't, they run a risk of penalties being forced upon them. Right now, we haven't had any penalties. Tootie's into the pit lane. He's gone onto a fresh set of hard compound tyres. He's obviously going to go as long as he can, but is that the wise thing to do? VSC underway, and it looks like Sav has had an absolute stonker of a restart here because he's already all over the back of Rusty.
He has indeed. Marketos as well on the back of Wilson had a really good restart. He's now on the back foot though, coming down the straight just purely in terms of his difference in straight line speed. Coming out of turns 22 and 23, doing a good job though out on track. Good evening, by the way, to everyone in the chat. If I forgot to mention that a little bit early on. Nick, however, is ahead of McCabe Sam. Smokey right on the back of Tom. Are we going to get round one between these two in the feature race? So the inside line goes to Mercedes on the Williams. It's a little bit desyncing, like it actually Smokey doesn't even the save as Sam. Sav, in the sprint race, then he actually oversteers it coming out the corner, puts him on the back foot, and Tom stays ahead. Kimber's on the back of Nick. Nick now on the back of McCabe Sam. He's now coming roaring back at him in towards turn one. The McLaren on the back of the Alfa Romeo tries to hang it on the outside line. Not going to work that one up. McCabe Sam takes the Max Verstappen line in towards turn number one. Just about rejoined circuit ahead of him. And Nick is still trying to power on the back of the VSR man. But McCabe Sam in 8th, Nick there 9th, Kimber there in 10th. Doing a good job. But Smokey, again, getting robbed. That overseer coming out of the middle of the final corner, put him on the back foot, and now he's on the back foot to Tom, and Tom's trying to catch back up to Skyler ahead.
Yeah, there's a little bit of desyncing going on here tonight, and looking at it from a PSR Nick point of view, it looks like he was drifting around the first sector, and that is not ideal here in Jeddah, but it clearly wasn't the case. But McCabe Sam starting to pull away a little bit, and it's cost PSR Nick a little bit of time. Nick's got a lot of pressure on his shoulder, obviously starting the front row of the grid in the sprint race, but he's now down into 9th place after losing position to McCabe Sam on the second lap of this race. Sav, Wilson are attacking Rusty, but at the moment it looks like Rusty's got the measure of them as we speak, but it could all go wrong. I say it could all go wrong. What could go wrong for Rusty is Sav being right up his trumpet as they head into turn 27.
Yeah, he's got a lot more ERS as well as Sav at this point, but I think if he is the driver I'm expecting him to be, he's not going to go for the move until they go for the pit stops, I think. That's normally a thing that I see certainly around here in Saudi Arabia. Same with Smokey and Tom. Tom is now losing that ERS back to Sky. That's now just under a second, actually, the gap coming through turns 1 and 2. And Smokey now, as a result, is on the back foot. Speaking of on the back foot, Lucas on that set of softs might have looked like a very, very good strategy to be on. Got caught up, obviously, in that early collision. I think it was Louis Valentin that likes coming through turn number 5. Ferrari now through and he's into 15th. Lucas there in 16th. And Lucas all of a sudden, soft compound tyres do not work, my friend, around this track. They only last 2 or 3 laps. The tyre you want to be on towards the end of the race will be a set of medium compound tyres. So Lucas, unfortunately for him, it might have seemed like the best strategy to him at the start. In the end, how his race has progressed, probably the wrong strategy to be on, and everyone will pit in for a set of medium compound tyres. Normally see from around lap 11, lap 12.
Yep, time will tell. And there's a mistake. And is that Markedos? Markedos, after such a strong sprint race, such a strong start to this race, the feature that is, he has now spun it, lost it. And that is incredible that he's still got a front wing, but no wing plates. I don't fully understand how that Alpine is built differently to the rest. However, he's going to have to come into the pit lane for that because that is huge. But Scyther possibly is in trouble then. He's had to take evasive action from that, and Tom is within range again.
He is within range again, and Skyler actually has no DRS running down the straight. Tom backs up that with a 131.6 new fastest lap of the race as well. Marcos had exactly the same moment as what Jensen did earlier on, which caused the VSC. Coming out of turn number 17, you get caught on the wall on the right-hand side. There's basically a little bump on the outside of the wall where you get caught on, and Marcos, unfortunately, because he had a snap of oversteer to boot as well coming out the corner, he now is on the back foot throughout this race. He unfortunately is down in 17th. He might even be behind Syrah and Tudi when he comes out the pit lane. I think he is going to sneak ahead of at least one of them coming out of the pits. There is another yellow flag, and that is McLaren Lucas in the wall with a 5-second penalty for severe collision with Ferrari. So please do not tell me, which I'm sure you are going to tell me now in the comment section, they were not going side by side through turn number 8.
Well, I was on board with Scyther, so we might get told very, very shortly what was going on, but it could also be something definitely different there. Marcos deciding to go onto a set of softs. He's likely to go softs to medium is his strategy, and hope for a safety car. That would be my strategy if he's had that bad luck to start. Scyther getting back within range of Wilson ahead. Sav, though, is the one to watch. He is trying his best to really attack Rusty while using no ERS to boot as well. As they come into turn 1, Sav really is doing a cracking race right now. It's like Red Bull of real life.
Yeah, it's like Red Bull of old, I've got to be honest. From Baku, between them both, of course, they got caught up in a collision. Let's just gloss over that, I think, between them both. But Sav, to me, he's got more speed down the straight compared to Rusty in terms of his DRS usage. He doesn't really need to use much battery. And the last time he did that was in Baku, and that was unfortunately a collision as Fabi, speaking of collisions, is out coming through turn number 8. That is off track, but I'm not sure if that's going to bring out a safety car or maybe even a VSC. Fabi, though, the Mercedes is round, coming out of turn number 8. He's there on the left-hand side of the wall. He's obviously got caught on the curb through there. Unfortunate for him, back to green flag racing. There's going to be no VSC or safety car, I think, because we've been too soon from the last one. Fabi there, out of the race, off track, unfortunately. Rusty leads Sav in second, but back to my point with Sav, he's got very good straight line speed around here. He's there in second, doing a fantastic job. He just needs to hold that pace and hold Rusty to 0.4 per second, and then he might be laughing all the way to the bank and doing a bank job here in Saudi Arabia. Rusty leads the race. 7 seconds is now Fern is out of the race, coming through turns 22 and 23, and that was the first safety car of this evening. Crash coming through 22 and 23. I think Fern's got too close to the wall there.
No front left there, and I wonder if McCabe Sam will try and pit from this. There's a few drivers going in, Rusty being one of them, Wilson being the other. They're all trying a little bit different, and I wonder if Sav... Ooh, Smokey picking up a 5-second penalty as well. McCabe Sam might be in a really good place at the end of this Grand Prix.
I think he will. He'll be on that set of hard compound of tyres, but to my perspective, the set of hards do not work as good as what mediums will do. I'm not actually convinced that they're going to make the end of the race. I've seen 17, 18 laps actually work at this stage. Smokey, by the way, picked up a 5-second penalty before he even reached the white line coming into the pit lane. It is a glitch around this track where you get caught on the inside coming into the pit entry. Smokey did get caught on that pit entry, and unfortunately picked up a 5-second penalty, just basically corner cutting coming into the pit lane. I was on board with that, so if he wants any footage, I can certainly send him that. That will definitely get removed. But Smokey there down an 8th, and that's what happens when I put the drivers under the mockers, I think, in terms of picking up a 5-second penalty. Did pick him for P3, gets that 5-second penalty removed, he will be laughing, but he's still on the back of Tom. That should be his main focus right now.
Yeah, I wonder if Sav, Nick and Ali Ferrari, I mean, whether they've made a mistake staying out. Choco's gone onto a set of softs as well, which makes it even weirder. Sierra's gone back out onto his set of hards that he swapped early on. So Sierra's in a good place as well come the end of this race.
He is. He's down there in 14th, but then again, I'm convinced that the set of mediums is going to work better, I think, in the second half of the race. The way the track evolution happened around this track, especially in night conditions. The set of hards are too hard for them to work. The set of softs are too soft for them to work. So you've got to basically go middle of the road, and that's why we've seen from the start, majority drivers go for a set of hard compound tyres, then go and transition to a set of mediums. With obviously having 2 laps under the safety car, it's going to take some of that tyre wear away. It is a very low tyre wear bearing circuit as well, so that's what the drivers are going to have to bear in mind. But coming back to your point, Sav, Nick, and all Ferrari have absolutely missed the trick, I think. They've got caught by the safety car. If that crash was different, and if that crash was somewhere else out on track, they could have had a potential free pit stop to come in the pit lane. It's so unfortunate how that's worked out. Sav especially, who was running in second, has had to stay out. But then again, if there's another safety car and something big happens behind them with Rusty, Wilson and Skyler, which I'm hoping it doesn't, but Sav, Nick and Ali Ferrari there in third, they all get caught up potentially in an instant in behind. They are going to be laughing all the way to the bank as well, as we have been joined, by the way, by Royalty in the comment section. Couple of the esports challengers guys are in. Brad is included, who I know is from PSGL F2. Good evening to everyone in the chat. Hope you all doing well. Sav, Nick, Ali Ferrari top 3 under the safety car, going on to lap 9 out of 25.
This is nuts. Really, really nuts stuff here in WR Tier 1 of the cross play. Now, you said Sav maybe making a pit stop early, but he was behind Rusty. Rusty managed to make that pit stop, and his teammate, who was behind him, directly behind him, made that pit stop. Sav didn't. Is this a split strategy now from Red Bull, thinking one of them could win the race, the other one not? Is this like proper team orders in a race style for Red Bull for WR Tier 1 cosplay?
Yeah, I think Helmut Marko will certainly put some team orders potentially in between the Red Bulls. And yeah, I've got to agree. Split strategy, I think, entirely between Sav and Wilson. Sav, obviously, the worry was, I think, from their perspective, the double stack coming into the pit lane. If that double stack happened coming in the pit lane, Wilson would have been affected. Sav potentially could have been held up by other people coming into the pit box ahead and behind. So they've had to run that strategy. And that strategy, in the end, I think has paid off more for Wilson than it has for Sav. But going back to what I said about the potential safety cars later on in the race, if there's a late safety car, that could turn the race on its head. And speaking of safety cars, the safety car is in this lap, even with Lucas not catching up to the back of the field.
And that is a late safety car call here as they came out back into the pits call. That is Sav, Nick, pull away. Here comes Ali Ferrari. Can he do anything? He's got Rusty all over the back of him. Rusty's going to make the move into turn 1, even well before turn 1. There's a gaggle of cars behind as well. Is that going to cause problems? And all of a sudden, Shazoo Tom, who's had such a great race, his nose is into the wall with Shazoo Nick. I think it was between the two of them out of all that. I'm not 100% sure. James, can you clarify?
I was on board with Smokey. I caught all of that. Smokey, in the end, was trying to go for the move on Tom. Tom had absolutely no bearing part in that. He was the unlucky one in that. And then Rick, I think, has just completely messed up his braking point to the inside line of turn number 1. And he's taken out Tom. And there is going to be war afoot between the Shazoo boys, I know for a fact, tonight.
Wow. And there is one unwritten rule within F1, is that you don't take out your teammate. And there is 2 Shazoo drivers that are, well, going to be very, very angry. It's going to be reminiscent of Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari going over to attack David Coulthard, is my memory on that. But PSR Kimber all over the back of McCabe Sam, who is on that harder compounded tyres. Rusty, I think, is probably the driver I should be on, but I won't because he is... There's just so much action going on. Kimber past Sam and look into turn 1. Rusty attacking PSR Nick. This is great racing between the two of them. They're getting past Ali Ferrari. Surely Rusty's going to get past Nick. Nick is pushing Rusty to the racing line.
And there's a bit of desync involved in this as well. And if Rusty tries to hang it around the outside there, he's either going to be desync or that could have been just one of the best moves I think I've ever seen in Saudi Arabia. But in the end, I think wits about them came to the fore as Rick has retired into the pit lane. He's obviously got damage as a result of that collision with Tom into turn number 1. And speaking of which, there's more desync on my screen. Certainly, Rusty has certainly been caught up with that. Nick had a big lag spike coming through the middle part of the first sector. And Rusty, all of a sudden, He's very lucky not to pick up any front wing damage in that. That was hellish, I've got to say, from his perspective. Kimber, though, to the inside line of Ali Ferrari, gets the job done. So Kimber through, and he's into 7th. Ali Ferrari there in 8th. The yellow flag is for Rick coming out the pit lane. Tom is also into the pit lane as well, further down the field. I believe, though, he has left the session out of frustration more than anything. Sav, though, and Nick leading the way. But Nick, he's got to be more worried about his internet at this stage than the man behind him, because the man behind him, not if buts and maybes, there's absolutes, and this absolute will be Rusty completing this move in towards turn number 1 potentially.
Yeah, but Nick's managed to catch a little bit of speed up into the attack to PSR Sav. I wonder if he will actually attack Sav, being PSR compatriot, with PSR Wilson looking very, very quick in this last sector, looking on board with him as he goes into turn 27, clips the wall. That's not ideal for the Red Bull driver as they now head down through the exit of 27 and going on the attack. DRS is now enabled on that 12 of 25. We're about halfway through this race, just short of it, but Rusty unable to really make a move on Nick. And thinking about it, these medium compound drivers, they do have to look after their tyres a little bit.
They do indeed. Just to bring you up to speed with what was happening in the background as well. McCabe Sam and Louis Valentine have just passed Ali Ferrari. Beautiful move actually by McCabe Sam around the outside of turn number 27. Got the job done. Marcos is now right on the back of the AlphaTauri as well. But yeah, they do have to keep these tyres completely under temperature, I think, out on track. It's going to be fascinating to see what is going to happen in this race. Apologies if you can hear other cars, by the way, in the background as Marcos forces it to the inside line of Ollie Ferrari. Goodness me, he's picked up damage for the 2nd time in this race. Choco's been caught up in that as well. He's got no front wing. That's surely going to be a VSC at the very, very least. Choco did not deserve that whatsoever. Marcos in the wall, basically parked to the inside line of turn number 13. He tried to force the move on Ali Ferrari. In the end, Marcos, a bit of wishful thinking there from him. And the German now down in 14th position. And that is another man potentially out of the running, because he was looking in the second half of this race very, very quick. And Marcos, his luck, honestly, he had a great sprint race, all going to pot in the feature.
Wilson nearly collects the back end of Rusty as well. It is all kicking off here in WOR, but I do feel sorry for Marcos Wilson, the fastest man on the track as we speak. But yeah, even with nearly collecting the Haas ahead of him, Nick and Sav battling away. Is this now over for Sav and Nick as it comes down to it? I mean, this is where you'd usually pit onto a set of hards. Do they just try and do something different for their team, for Wilson behind?
If I was in Sav's shoes, yes, I would. I personally think Sav has got more speed than Nick as well out on track. So you could play this either one or two ways. One, gap Nick outside of 8/10 per second, and then Rusty pick up the pieces on the back of Nick. Or Sav backs Nick up into Rusty and lets Wilson have a go at Rusty. Either situation, you are going to see Wilson at some point battle Rusty, I think. It's going to be a fantastic battle, but they've got to watch out him behind. Skyler, all of a sudden, is beginning to get in this race. He's got 65% of EOS running down the straight. Wilson's got 51, so Skyler's actually at a big advantage compared to Wilson ahead of him. And they've got to watch him behind as well. Because Smokey, remember, he picked up that 5-second penalty on pit entry coming into the pit lane. He's there in 6th position. That 5-second penalty gets removed. He is going to be potentially a contender in this race. If that does happen, as Nick pulls the inside on and Sav and the McLaren forces the move, but in the end, he absolutely oversteers it. There's a big D-sinker behind as well. Rusty has ghosted through the back of Sav. Do not know what is going on. Wilson now through Sav in the pit lane, and now Rusty's attacking Nick in towards turn number 1. This is certainly not on the order sheet, but Rusty to the outside line at turn number 1. Rick now and Nick's nearly pushed them off to the inside line at turn number 1, and Wilson there. Oh, and they're in the wall. They are both in the wall, and unfortunately, I think Nick has got left side end plate damage. Rusty's got away with that, and Wilson now all of a sudden into the lead of the race. What did I say 45 seconds ago?
Rusty is the one with end plate damage, and all of a sudden Smokey's going through it. Oh no! Oh, a snap of oversteer there. And I mean, on my screen, it looked like Rusty entered Sav. That was how it looked like on mine, and that's not ideal at all. This is going to help Sav out, though. Gain a few extra places with Rusty going slow through all this, holding up Smokey. But Smokey will be a little bit frustrated with that, especially with the desync of Nick. And I mean, looking at it, the move was done and dusted, but Nick wanted to continue through that as well. That is not ideal.
word.
Kimber trying to go through it as well.
No
This
way.
is huge.
This will be audacious from Kimber. I thought there was going to be 3 wide actually down the straight there, but that is job done from Kimber. He gets the job done on Rusty. Oh my word, he's nearly lost it. My word, what a recovery. As Louis Valentine now is getting involved in this. I don't know what on earth is happening out on track. Look away, kids, if you're watching. Louis Valentine on the back of Kimber, 5th and 6th position. And the Aston Martin tries to go all the way around the outside, but goodness me, there is decent galore here in Saudi Arabia. It is causing the drivers headaches. They've just got to be careful. If I was in the driver's shoes right now, I would avoid making contact with A, the drivers ahead, and B, the drivers behind, because there is desync in this lobby, so they've got to watch out for that. Louis Valentine though through, Rusty in the end into the pit lane, and, well, I thought 9 o'clock the watershed has now happened, and we're certainly getting 9 o'clock the watershed here in Saudi Arabia. This is mental as Nick hits the wall on the right-hand side, coming through turn number 6.
Well, Nick again making another mistake. This is huge for Nick. And you know what? This isn't the bird and the bees. This is not how F1 cars replicate themselves or make new parts at all. Codemasters really needs to take note and maybe think of something a little bit different. But Nick struggling now with the pace on those hards, especially with no front wing, and Smokey all over the back of him. Whereas Rusty going back onto the hards as well to the end of the Grand Prix. Rusty will be hoping maybe for a safety car. I'm not sure right now what Rusty needs.
I don't think he wants a safety car, judging by what we've seen in the last lap or so from what's been going on out on track. You could work it either 2 ways. The real racing fans amongst us, including me, would want a safety car, I think, at this point in the race. But when there's desync in the lobby, I don't think the safety car would be the last thing on everyone's mind, as Louis Valentine is going to try and pull the move off on Nick with that right side end plate damage on the car. Louis to the inside line. The Shazoo man surely gets the job done. Nick has got no control with that right side plate damage. He's doing his into 5th. Is Nick coming in the pit lane? Yes, he is. Unfortunate for PSR Nick. He's down there in 6th. Might in the end retire the car. Ali Ferrari, by the way, still staying out on track. He's now been really, really fortunate, I think, as a result of this. He's on the back of McCabe Sam in the DRS train, all the way from Smokey down to him, and he has came off rather fortunate. And we said if there was going to be a safety car in this race, or if there was going to be carnage in this race, he could potentially come out on top on this. He's there in 7th, doing a fantastic job. But from my perspective, in terms of Joseph's comments, he might be onto the ball there. It could potentially be a red flag, but if I was in the driver's shoes and if I was race director at this point, I'd just tell them, honestly, to keep it calm and not really attempt for any overtakes, judging by this desync in the lobby. That'll fix it right off the bat.
Yeah, we'll continue commentating no matter what. Smokey somehow finding himself into a podium position right now. The championship leader could extend away from Rusty. Who would have thought that well, I say the championship leader is Rusty, but before this event it was Smokey, and he could finally extend away from that. From the 2 points it was, I think Rusty would have ended up with 6 points ahead after the sprint race, but now it's definitely going to go Smokey's way at the end of this. This is nuts. I mean, I haven't seen a car, well, Robot Wars, another car on a Codemasters game for a little while. That is what we saw at the exit of turn 27 on my side, and it's really, really, really annoying the Codemasters still haven't fixed that. But let's get back to the action on track. And Kimber is having a great race in the Haas up into 4th now after everyone else's misfortune. McCabe Sam, let's not forget about him. Currently in P6, hard compound runner, looking very, very solid. But I'm going to go on board with Sider, battling away with Wilson. These two have been battling time and time again throughout the WR history, throughout league racing history over the last couple of games or seasons or whatever. But Sider always finds a way to be quicker, in my opinion, from watching him on these medium compounded tyres. It's really interesting to see how he will handle this pressure right now.
Yeah, he's got 20% of ERS as well, inferior to Wilson ahead. So I think Skyver, what I think he's trying to do at this point is just staying behind, put him under pressure, but don't put him under too much pressure, because that'll just wear away his tyres and wear away Wilson's tyres, which I think is not what he wants at this stage. Skyler, by the way, I think every single race I think I've commentated on in WOR Console Tier 1 this season, Skyler has been up there in the top 3 at some point, and Skyler is doing a fantastic job. He is honestly the man. Is he going to look for the move down the straight? I thought he was going to go for moving towards turn number 1 there for a second, but he's on the back of Wilson, and this is what he just has to do. He just has to put him under pressure. Smokey's got no pace in behind. He's out of DRS. You can forget about him. He's got a 5-second penalty on top of that. There was a yellow flag, and that's Lucas, I think, round in the middle sector. I think he's just gone for a spin coming out of turn 17. Got the car back going again, which I'm glad to report. I don't think there's any damage on the car either, so he's got away with that, unlike what happened a little bit early on with Fabi and Jensen, down in 19th and 20th and already out the race. But Skyver on the back of Wilson doing a good job as Nick has retired into the pit lane. My man, one of my predictions for the top 3, unfortunately has gone astray. The McLaren now in the pit lane and retiring out on out in the pit lane. So unfortunate, and it's a case of what could have been.
Definitely. Commentator's curse, maybe, James, from your side. It's usually me that gives the commentator's curse, so I'm glad it's not for once. Still yellow flags, and I think that is because of PSR. Nick Lucas is still racing away, as is Shazoo Tom in 15th, but I think he's out I don't think he's in the session, which is unfortunate. But Sider doing what he needs to do and just keeping to the coattails of Wilson right now. And you know what? Jeddah Corniche circuit never fails to deliver. It hasn't failed to deliver tonight, but not in the way we were expecting.
Yeah, a cow, by the way, in the chat, right on board, saying we should ride on board with Simmer. He's doing a fantastic job. He's there in 7th. I'm on board with him right now. And the Ferrari is doing a good job. What he lacks for, however, is in terms of pace. Is actually, I'm going to cut off board because I thought Skyler was going to launch it to the inside line at turn 1. He put Wilson completely under pressure there. But Simmer is doing a fantastic job. He's down there in 7th. And Kimber on the back of Smokey is looking very interesting. This battle is going to develop, I think, unless there's a safety car from somebody else further down the field. This battle is going to develop quite nicely. And Louis Valentin has done a fantastic job, by the way, in this race. He's been arguably one of the cleanest drivers, I think, out on track, certainly from the mid-pack. Started 13th, up to 5th position, doing an utterly fantastic job. This is the Louis Valentin we normally see on the PS side, and it's fantastic to watch. And the Aston Martin, where Shazoo might be at war with 2 of their drivers at least, Louis Valentin, I think, is going to try and make up for that and hopefully go for the P3 finishes. Again, we're going to be a bit of decent on that 19 out of 25. Wilson, Scarver and Smokey still in the top 3. Kimber and Louis, they're 4th and 5th. Cape Sam, Syrah, Tudi, Alferrari and Sav top 10. Then Rusty, Choco, Lucas and Tom, with the 14 drivers are continuing. Lucas and Tom, as you mentioned, I think Tom certainly he's left the session already, so he's down at the back of the field. And Nick saying in the chat he is the best pad player. I'm technically the best pad player, but I'm not out on track, so I can't actually prove I'm the best pad player.
Well, and that's exactly true. You know, you don't want to show people up, do you, James? So let's see what Louis Valentin can do as he heads through. He's looking very, very racy into P5 against PSR Kimber. Kimber struggling behind Smokey, but out of all that, not only does Smokey has that 5 second that he's likely to get removed, he's got a 3 second penalty to boot as well, and that is not ideal because that will cost you. McCabe Sam is only 1.5 seconds behind this. We're at 20 of 25, which means McCabe Sam's tyres are going to be the tyres to be on very, very soon. And, you know, Rusty is trying to attack Sav as well for the final point scoring position. If you didn't, if you haven't seen, I've recommend rewatching it because there's no words to describe what we saw in that 20-second segment. James, is it really? It was definitely one to view, not speak over. But Smokey, out of all this, is catching Wilson and Siver. It's becoming a little bit closer there.
Yeah, definitely so. It is becoming a lot closer, I think, between these two. But then again, Wilson is now trying to put Skyler on the back foot. And actually what Wilson has done, I think very, very nonchalantly, is that Kimber's on the back of Smokey running up in towards turn 27. Is he going to look for the move maybe in towards turn 1? He backs off at the minute. Skyler, though, has now got the same amount of ERS as Wilson. Wilson has now been backing off the throttle, been trying to save up that ERS. As now Kimber sails on by Smokey. Smokey is out of the podium scoring positions. Kimber now Fooney's into third. He's done a fantastic job, I've got to say, this race as well. Iggy, by the way, saying in the chat as well, what happened to Rusty? PG-18 is all I can describe what happened. Watch that back because, as Gareth mentioned, I think it was better for us not to commentate on that rather than anything else, as Rusty is through on Sav, who was there down in 11th position and, of course, has left the session. PSR man down in 11th position, unfortunately doing a good job, not doing a bad job. They're down 11th so far in this race, but Wilson leading the way, Skyther in second, and this is the point where we are going to really see Skyther begin to apply pressure to the back of Wilson. Wilson has got to be very, very coy to the idea of Skyther in behind him, trying to go for the move, and this will be last lap, this will be last couple of corner sort of stuff if this happens. But Wilson, I think, honestly, if I was in his shoes, I'd try and gap him out of 0.8 of a second and put him on the back foot. But with Skyther's ERS, he's essentially got all of the answers to what Wilson's going to ask of him ahead. So there's no other alternative than for Skyther to wait for the final lap.
And we say time and time again that some drive, well, if you're sat in second, you shouldn't wait too long to go on the attack, or otherwise the driver ahead will have, that answer to you. So time will definitely tell whether Wilson has the answer to Sider, but Kimber, don't count him out because he's been so solid in that last lap. He's catching, and you know what? I wouldn't put him past winning this Grand Prix with the way he's going right now. Are we going to see a late safety car? I don't know if we are. Let's go on board with Siver and see where the McLaren of Lucas has lost it. He is right in a wall. Somehow he's lost only just the left hand of his tyre and his front wing.
From the first camera that I saw, I thought the car was actually embedded in the wall for a second there. But yeah, left side end plate damage, obviously on the car. Left wheel off as well for Lucas. He's out of the race. I'm not sure if he had a collision with Tom's AI or got off put. I think it was more by himself. So that's why he's down the back of the field. And that's why we haven't got a VSC or a safety car from that, because it was classed, even though it's on track, that was classed as off track according to the coding on this game. Weird one. Wilson, though, leading the way. Skyther now beginning to apply him under pressure. And this is what the Aston Martin man has got to do. He has got to put Wilson under so much pressure that Wilson cracks under that pressure. The Red Bull has done stunningly, I've got to say, in this race. That's bit of the strategy. Absolutely brilliant from Sam's perspective to stay out there on track. He's obviously down in the back of the field there, down in 11th. But Wilson, pitting in, he has got all the keys to the throne, I think, at this point. Another bit of desync there running towards turn 27. Skyther on the back of Wilson. Final 3 laps is going to be absolutely crucial, but also going to be crucial. Kimber all of a sudden, 1.8 seconds. Wilson backs Skyther up into Kimber. Kimber could perhaps get back in a second and could have a chance of this race win. This is not over and done with yet for 3rd, 4th and 5th.
You know what? I'm pretty certain Kimber was in a race we did before. Well, it might have been. I'm not 100% sure. And Kimber had an incredible race, but then had some unfortunate happenings towards the end, which cost him. But he's in a great position right now. He is so quick in that first sector. He's catching these leaders of the Grand Prix. Lap 23 or 25, Wilson and Sider aren't home free. And if Kimber keeps going the way he's going, he's bringing Smokey and Louis Valentine along. Louis Valentine could have a great... Well, he's in for a great position here, but it could be even better. They've dropped McCabe Sam, which is crucial.
It is absolutely crucial. McCabe Sam has got absolutely no hope. He's done brilliantly, don't get me wrong, in this race. He's got no hope coming back from this unless there's a huge collision ahead. Kimber has used up a lot of battery, however, to get within a second and a half. But Skyther now within that DRS range. This is where Kimber is going to hurt in this final sector, where there's 2 DRS zones. One down here, and then one down the start-finish straight once again. And look at how Skyther gets to the back of Wilson on the back of him. He wants to try and use up that ERS to try and get on the back, and he has a huge snap of oversteer coming out of 27. This might be, though, a potential look-in for what is going to happen on the final lap of the race. If Skyther goes this next time around and dives it to the inside line of turn number 1, Wilson's then going to have the advantage later on in the lap. So Skyther has got to wait He has got to put him under pressure. Nearly puts himself under pressure into the wall. Coming out of turn number 2. My God, that was close. But Skyler there on the back of Wilson. Wilson leading. Skyler in second. 2 laps to go. If I was in Skyler's shoes, I'd wait. Because Kimber, 1.7 seconds. Might be quicker in the first half of the lap. There's no chance he's coming back in the second half.
Penultimate lap here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit of the Crossplay WOR race, and Seidler and Wilson are going hammer and tong at it, and at the moment Wilson's got the advantage over Seidler as they come through this second sector of the race. It is so tight here at Saudi between the two of them. We've had multiple DNFs, 7 drivers out of this Grand Prix, and that is, I don't want to say a record, but that is huge amount, especially this season. And we don't have Savile Tom Racing at the moment. They have left as well. So technically, you could say we've lost 9 drivers. That's how big it is. But here comes Seidler coming around through turns 25, 26. He's getting close to the back end of Wilson. He won't want to overtake just yet. He'll stick close to the back end, try and get as close to the Red Bull driver ahead of him as possible. He's closer than he was this time last lap. He's surely got to make the move into turn 1. He's getting closer. Seidler on the final lap. He's the fastest man on the track. Wilson pushes him as far to the inside as possible. Is that a little bit too much? We'll wait and see. But the switchback is available for the Aston Martin driver, but it's not going to be enough.
It isn't, and Wilson just about holds fight, but this is perfect from Skyler's perspective. This is exactly what he wants to do. Put him under pressure. Kimber's 2.6 seconds behind. No chance he's going to come back unless there's a mistake to this first sector. Wilson, however, has got more ERS than Skyler, nearly double the amount, in fact, of ERS compared to him. But Skyler makes up for that in terms of straight line speed. Oh, thrown into a big curveball. Tom's AI is just ahead of these guys. Picks up a DRS train coming through the middle sector. This might be Wilson's to lose. This is unintentional from Tom's AI, but this could now bring him back to really bite him back on the bum cheeks. But Wilson leading the way. Skyler in second. He's just too far back coming out of the series of corners through 16 and 17. It's going to be a very tight one and towards turn 27, but I think Wilson is just about going to keep this potentially. Skyler's used 5% of ERS coming through the final couple of corners through turns 22 and 23. Unless Skyler has got a jet-propelled car, he's not going to win this. Wilson's using up his ERS, and it looks like it's game over.
DRS open for Wilson as well. He's been helped by that Williams AI. But he's been helped by many things in Codemasters' lives right now. But Wilson will not care. He's going to cross the line and win the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. What a race for Wilson. He takes the fastest lap with it as well. Seidler comes home in second. Smokey will drop further down, and that penalty to boot as top of the 5 seconds will cost him, which means Kimber will be in third place. There's more action going on between Tootie and Rusty battling for 9th place.
Ran the outside of turn 27, trying to get the job done, and Tootie, has Rusty gone too deep? No, gets the job done. Rusty, in the end, gets 9th position off Tootie. Tootie, I think, has got a penalty as well to boot, but my word, that was close, because they nearly made contact down the straight, and that's one thing you don't want to do in terms of racing. In the end, though, my word, absolutely unbelievable. What have we just witnessed in Saudi Arabia? I said that in Baku. What have we just witnessed in Baku? And it's exactly the same. What have we just witnessed in Saudi Arabia?
The Jeddah Corniche circuit yet again doesn't fail to give us some action.
Oh, sorry, don't I like out there? Apologies.
No problem. Now, I seem to be getting a black screen here. Hopefully, it will give us some standings, maybe,
I've got them coming up on my end.
There we go. We've finally got the podium coming through, and this is what we want to see. Well, Wilson, it's taken him a little while to take another victory here in WOR. I'm trying to remember the last time he took a victory. If he has this season, I think it may have been... no, he has yet to take a victory this season. So Wilson's first victory of the season comes at round 9. 4 podiums to his name, and maybe he can, well, class himself as a championship challenger yet again. But what a way to race what a way to end the Jeddah Corniche circuit. I mean, it's that good. It's taken the words right out of my mouth. Wilson is the race winner in the feature race. And James, and people in the chat, let us know who your driver of the day is going to be, and hopefully we'll have a good chat about that in a little bit shorter. But what a way to end the race, and what a podium we had there. And again, it's taking a certain amount of time to give me the final positions here. But James, while we wait for that, who's your driver of the day?
Oh, it's a tricky one. It is a real tricky one. I've got to be honest. Wilson, I think, deserves driver of the day. But since that split up in terms of the strategy, Sav staying out in that set of hard compound tyres, that was absolutely crucial. That 30 seconds changed everything, I think, in that race. And Wilson brought about a real good amount of pace. Skyler pushed him all the way to the limit, and there was nothing more that I think Skyler could do. But for me, Wilson controlled the race a little bit better, and for me, driver of the day, I know it's the obvious choice, him running the race, but he did fantastically well. He should be very proud of his performance.
Now, of a whole event, who would your driver be? Because obviously we've got a sprint race and a feature race to consider here, and I know it's a little bit difficult to fully answer this one, but yeah, it's not an easy question, but let's go for it.
It is not an easy question whatsoever. I know I said Markadors for the sprint race, and then look what happened to him in the feature race. So I don't want to really put Wilson in there, to be honest. I think overall, Skyver, I think, did a fantastic job. He was down there in the sprint race, qualified, of course, further down the field as necessary. He always comes alive, though. Second half of the races, he always comes alive, and that has been fantastic to watch. And he, as I say, he put Wilson under pressure. I think overall, for me, driver of the day, yes, Skyver. Unfortunate to Wilson, I did say him there, but yeah, Skyver.
Now, obviously, there's a break week next week, and after a chaotic race like this one, is it a good time to have for the drivers? Is it a good time to have that break, or is that actually detrimental?
I think, to be honest, after that race that we've just experienced, I think it's probably better, I think, for them to experience a break week now rather than anything else, because it just takes away that mentality of actually driving on a game that's obviously, with tonight, what we saw, certainly in the commentary box, a little bit broken and a little bit just disjointed. But I think it's a good time to refocus as well. We saw the likes of Jensen further down the field, obviously DNFing, Fabi DNFing. They are perfect examples, I think, of drivers who want to do well mentally and then not having that mental capability. So this break week is just going to reset everything. It's just going to bring everyone to the boil once again. For in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have racing in, and I'm going to quickly get the calendar up just to double check, because I do not want to mess up my words here at this stage. It is in Abu Dhabi in 2 weeks' time, and especially around a track with a lot of bumps and a lot of potential oversteering moments coming through there. That could be a race that it might reset it for 1 week. After Abu Dhabi, it's going to be a totally different kettle of fish.
And obviously it's got the new track layout, which is better for overtaking, better racing action, and a little less walls right on top of you. It's definitely going to be a great one to watch, I think, Abu Dhabi. And, well, Ryan may be back, or you might be back. Or, we don't know. We don't know. It's 2 weeks away. The world could end between now and then, or Codemasters could fix their game. The two things, highly unlikely. But when we're looking at this, obviously, Smokey, I think, does retake the championship lead, and Rusty only getting minimal points. The race victory for Wilson and it puts him ahead of Scyther. The championship battle all of a sudden gets very, very close again, and I'm just trying to... Obviously, there's only the one sprint race this season. Then we've got, 5 rounds remaining? 5 rounds remaining, and there's not one driver who's in charge.
Yeah, those 5 rounds are going to be significantly important, I think, in terms of the championship. What we saw with Wilson tonight, Wilson's dead in the picture now. It is completely blown wide open in Saudi Arabia. Smokey, as you mentioned, taking the championship lead off Rusty. Rusty is going to be there. I know he's going to come back better. This will be a week to absolutely forget. This will be a week for many, I think, people to forget. And in terms of the championship, I cannot wait, whether it be in the commentary box or whether it be watching in the background. I cannot wait to see how these final 5 races are going to go, because if anything, you shouldn't really rest on your laurels. I think if you're a driver in the championship fight, you shouldn't really rest on your laurels. You've got to treat every race like it is your last, and every race is dependent on the championship, and that's what the drivers are now going to have to focus on.
Now, it doesn't look like we're going to have any drivers any of the top three anyway. I would have loved to have spoken to Timber or Sider or Wilson about that race, because it was that chaotic, but obviously none of them want to speak to us tonight. I obviously smell, I think, James. But apart from that, obviously it's been a great race. And how do we sum that one up?
Chaotic. PG-18, I could use many phrases, I think, to try and describe that race. But in the end, chaotic. Absolute carnage out on track from flagfall, basically, from lights out, basically to flagfall. It was one of the most chaotic races. I think it was even more chaotic than Baku. And that was saying a lot. Baku is normally a racing track where it gets very aggressive. The driving standards and the walls come at you very quickly. Jeddah, exactly the same in terms of the walls. And, yeah, just chaotic overall. Congratulations, though, to Wilson for taking the race win. Skyler there pushed them all the way to the limit. I would love to see these guys go 12 rounds, I think, out on track in terms of any sort of racing. Fantastic to watch. And they are honestly providing that example of how crossplay can work and what battles you can have with crossplay working. And they put on a fantastic show. And Skyler, for my part, I thought was going to win. But in the end, Wilson absolutely deserved it. And he just saved up that EOS, and that was crucial.
Definitely. And that's the beauty of F1 is you can have those little battles. It's the chess games inside a chess game. It's the best way to describe it. It's fantastic to watch. But from James and I, thank you so much for watching. Next week is a little bit of a break week for WOR. It's a little bit chill. Obviously, the F1 Esports Challenges are coming up as well. Be sure to watch that one as well, because some of these drivers are taking part in that. But we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And, well, if it's anything like tonight, it's going to be chaotic. Thank you so much for watching again, and goodbye.